What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for another report video for you guys. As you remember, back in November, we gave you our half-term report. So we're back again. The Tottenham teacher's not here, but we're here to give you our end-of-term report, seeing as it is the last international break of the season. And after that, we go into the final stretch of the season, the last 8 Premier League games plus last 9 Premier League games with the cup final in there. Seeing as we're at the Europa League as well, we're going to give you our end of term report. We're going to go through every single player in the Spurs squad and we're going to give them a rating from A+ down to F, and we'll see how we get on.
No, are you looking forward to this?
Not really.
To the
Not really.
we were giving back in November.
Well, we were top of the league when we last did it, didn't we?
Exactly. Well, we did a half season ratings as well. But yeah, the last report we did was back in November, and it was glowing. It was
a glowing report.
I definitely wouldn't say it's glowing now.
There were some stellar students back in November, but let's get into it. And let's start off with Hugo Lloris. And Hugo, we're giving a C. Back in November, we gave him an A. So in terms of Hugo's performances, you got to say that on the most part they've been good performances, but from one point, I think it was the turn of the year, he started to make really detrimental errors and costing us in games. So we've marked him down to a C. It
was really since January. It all started with that game against Liverpool. He made 2 quite bad errors in that game.
Wasn't there errors in the Crystal Palace game? Was that before then?
Yeah, there was one error in the Crystal Palace game, but then that was like an anomaly. And then he still had a good run. And then that Liverpool game, he made it at home. He made 2 really bad errors leading to the first 2 goals we conceded. And ever since then, his form has been very, very patchy. Against Everton, should have done better with a couple of those goals in the FA Cup. Against Man City, should have done better in those games as well. So his form has kind of fallen off a bit. I don't think he's been a disaster still. I think he's still kept up fairly decent standards, but his form has declined since January, and that's been a big problem for us and for him. And it's led to it's obviously combined with the decline of the team as well. But it's a shame for him because he was having a great season, a near faultless season, and it's kind of been marred a bit by recent performances. And also looks like he could be off in the summer.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Joe Hart. Joe Hart, we're giving a D. Since we last done a report, he's hardly seen a minute, has he?
Yeah,
really?
He played 2 games against Marine and against Wolfsburg in the Europa League. I think that's pretty much all he's played.
Yeah, so I mean, there's nothing really to rate it on. We're just going on a D for a sub-keeper's performance, really.
Yeah, he hasn't done too much wrong, but early in the season, he wasn't too convincing in the early Europa League campaigns. And I think he only signed a 1-year contract, didn't he? So whether we'll take that, we'll extend it or not, remains to be seen. But yeah, I think I don't think he's been that great.
All right, Serge Aurier, we're going to give him a C+. For the most part, he's had a good season. There have been kind of blots on his season with performances in Zagreb and a few other performances here and there. But I think all in all, he's had a good season.
Aurier, yeah, I would say, yeah. Before recently against Zagreb, he was pretty poor, and I think he was pretty poor. There was another game as well. I'm trying to remember who it was against, but he was also pretty poor recently in that game. I'm trying to remember who the game was. But I think by and large, he's had a good season. And it's too harsh. You don't want to be too harsh to him because I think he's actually been pretty consistent most of the season, apart from a couple of anomalous performances where he's been really bad, like the Zagreb game. But it's a player that Mourinho doesn't seem to trust.
He's a player which actually he's improved massively on his defensive side of the game. But I think going forward, he provides a good outlet out there. But I think he's more or less most of the time left wanting with his kind of delivery into the box and his quality in the final third, which is really where he lets himself down, in my opinion. Where, as in previous seasons, you would have said he would have been let down on his calamities at the back and his defensive side. But I think since Jose's come in, he's kind of eradicated most of the errors out of his game defensively.
A lot of them, yeah. But he just, again, he's better. He's definitely better than he was last season, and he's definitely improved under Jose. But again, he doesn't fully trust him. You could see that. He just doesn't fully trust him.
Doherty's seen so many minutes recently.
Exactly.
Which moves us on to Doherty. We've given him an F, and I think this has been probably one of the worst signings of the season, in my opinion. Even when people have said he's played well, it's been a pretty much average performance.
Damning with faint praise.
And that performance at Arsenal just capped it all off for me, and it was like, come on, just get rid of this guy in the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's been a pretty woeful signing, you have to say. He hasn't been the answer whatsoever to our right back options. He's really struggled to adapt that right wing position. You'd hope by this stage of the season he would have got to grips with it. He hasn't been able to do that. He doesn't look good going forward. He looks a complete liability going back, which is the biggest frustration. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame I know for a player like Doherty, when he offers nothing going forward, he really is a wasted space on the team, because he was brought in as this attacking right back, and he hasn't been that at all. He does when it seems like when he doesn't have space to play with, and he's not making those late runs in the box, like he doesn't have that quality to really make a difference in the final third. And it's been such a shame that it's really not worked out, this transfer, because it looked like on paper like a good deal.
We were also excited about it, weren't we?
Looked like a good deal. I remember at the time I had my reservations, but I was excited because we needed a right back and we got one on the cheap. But you get what you pay for, as they say, and that's definitely been the case with Doherty.
Which moves us on to another signing, Sergio Reguilon on the left-hand side. We gave him a B+. And on
A- we gave him last time.
Yeah, so I mean, he's had a slightly downturn in performances, in my opinion. I don't think it's reached the heights of the first half of the season. But having said that, I still think he offers us so much when he's on the pitch as opposed to Ben Davies on that left-hand side. And when you look at him as a signing compared to Matt Doherty, it's completely night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, he's still putting in relatively high quality performances.
Oh,
yeah. I think as an outlet on the left-hand side, attacking wise, I still think he's there. He provides a real threat on down that left-hand side with his pace and his energy that he offers. Defensively, I think he was a bit stronger earlier in the season.
Inconsistent is the word for his defensive displays.
Yeah, I think he was stronger early in the season than he is now. I think going forward he's still offering that same threat, and I still think he's been a great signing, but his performances maybe have dipped just a bit of late. But I still think he's been a good season for him.
Ben Davies, we give him a C, the standard Ben Davies scoreline. Look, I think that when he's called upon, he does well. I think when the way he doesn't do well is when he gets overplayed and he gets tired, and then we really start seeing the Ben Davies, the classic bad performances from Ben Davies. But I think all in all, when you assess his season, I think he's done well, and I think that when he comes in on the odd game, he plays well. But like I said, when he gets overplayed and when he's been playing consistently, that's when these performances start to creep in.
When we rely on him, and that's exactly what happened. He went through that phase when he was playing 8-9 games in a row, and he really badly struggled. Really struggled. It was really hard to watch at times. Him struggle so badly, but came on against Villa, played really well, and earlier in the season as well, I thought he was having some good games when he wasn't asked to play every game. Yeah. So I think by and large, as that backup left back role, he's fine. It's always nothing. We haven't learned anything new with Davies. As a backup left back, he's fine. As a starting left back, he's not good enough. Nothing new there, and I think that pretty much carries on where we left off with Davies.
Exactly, which moves us on to Toby Alderweireld. We gave him a B-. In my opinion, he's been probably our best centre-back this season.
Gave him an A back in November.
Yeah, we gave him an A, but I think he had a bit of a dip and then he's come back, Toby. He got taken out of the team for quite a while in between then. I think he has been our best centre-back this season. I think our centre-backs in Sanchez and Dier both would rather play with him than each other, to be honest. And I think that when we're looking at the strongest centre-back pairing we have at the club, he's definitely in that.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely been our best centre-back. He's definitely a centre-back who has made the least mistakes out of anyone in that back four. I think he was a bit better in the season earlier in the season when he was playing in those games against Man City, and he was imperious that game, and against Arsenal, and he looked unbeatable. He hasn't quite been to that level. I still think he's played well, but when he comes up against better teams, he does seem to get caught out. Not as a mistake-wise, just I seem physically and with energy, he doesn't seem on top of his game, in a peak of his powers, basically.
You can see that his powers are dwindling, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Against Arsenal, he had a good game, but he still struggled against Lacazette to really get the better of him, and that's what I'm saying about Toby. But I still think I agree, he's definitely our best centre back in quality wise, and I don't think he's had a bad season, but I still think he needs someone better next to him.
Which moves us on to Davinson Sanchez. We gave him a C-. If you would have asked,
him a D last time.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got slightly better. I think that his first half of the season performance was literally
really poor,
really poor. But he's managed to get himself together. He's managed to put in some more stronger performances in the last month or two, and I think that he's fought himself into one of our first choice centre back at the moment.
Yeah, I think so, and I think He's cut out. He used to be like a mistake a minute, literally early in the season. He couldn't go second without making a mistake. Now he's kind of got into a situation where he's kind of only making 1 or 2 mistakes a game. So it's better. It is,
and
a
they're
bit
not
better.
costing us these mistakes.
And on the flip side as well, you got to say that he's playing well, apart from those mistakes. Whereas before, you probably couldn't say that.
Yeah.
So I think he has improved his performances. He is getting better as the season goes on. Is he someone who we can rely on in the future and going forward?
We don't know.
The jury's still out on that, and I don't think that probably will be the case. But for now, from now to the end of the season, I think him and Toby have got to be the partnership that we got to go forward with.
Eric Dier, we gave him an E. Look, Eric Dier, I think it's been a shocking season from him. I think that in terms of at the end of the season, he's one that I would look to move on, in my opinion. At the beginning of the season, you would have said that he was playing well, but it was the odd mistake that was letting him down in games and letting the team down in games. But he's just not seeing minutes at the moment. Mourinho has completely lost trust in him, and I think the whole fan base has pretty much lost trust in him, to be fair.
Yeah, what a shame for Eric Dier, because he had. I remember the beginning of the season. I can't see what we gave him early in the season, but we were saying he was having a good season. Like, I remember from when we were going for that period where we didn't concede many from open play, I thought he was pretty well, doing pretty well.
We gave him
A minus. Look at that, we gave him an A minus. So like, he was actually having a pretty good season, and it was only what was letting him down was a few goals, that costly goals, unfortunately, that we let in from set pieces, which he was at fault for. And then you were saying, okay, if he can just get those out of his game, then maybe he could be our centre-back. But unfortunately, not only did he not get that out of his game, but also he got worse from open play. And it got to a situation where he's now, every time he got on the pitch, he was putting in shambolic performances. And ever since January, his performances have nosedived considerably, and unfortunately now it's got to a stage where he hasn't even played in the last 4 or 5 Premier League games, so and deservedly so. So unfortunately Dier's season's fallen off a cliff, and that's why he gets the E for us, because he's by his own standards and by what Mourinho expects of him, he should be doing a lot better than what he's performing at the moment.
All right, let's move on to Japhet Tanganga. We gave him a B. Hasn't played that many minutes this season, but I think that whenever he's been called upon, he's played pretty well. Yeah.
Apart from maybe the first half against West Ham where he wasn't that great, I think like defensively he's been pretty solid. I think he's done an admirable job when called upon, and I think after that performance against Villa, he probably earned himself a lot more game time now. And maybe now that Davies is injured and we're going to be playing Reguilon on the left, maybe we could do that lopsided thing from the other side of Reguilon going forward, Tanganga tucking in and becoming a third centre-back, and that could be the way forward from us from now to the end of the season. And that could be something. But I think Tanganga deserves more game time for what he's done on the pitch.
Completely agree. Last of the defence, Joey Rodon. We gave him a B-. Another one who hasn't played too much football, but when called upon as well, I think he's done a really good job there. Look, it hasn't been completely faultless, which you expect from a young centre-back coming in from the Championship. But from what I've seen of him, I really like him. And I think he deserves more minutes as well.
Yeah, I think, because he's young, because he's coming into a team where I think when he was coming in, like, our defence was kind of faltering at the time, and it was hard for him to kind of just slot in. You know, it's not that easy to be relied upon like that. So I think he's had some good games, like against Sheffield United, against Aston Villa, had some very good games. He's also had some bad games, like against Liverpool, against Brighton. He's had some poor games, so a bit of a mixed bag, but I think he just needs a consistent run, and maybe we'll see a different side to Joe Rodon. And him and Sanchez together might not have the experience and might make a bit more mistakes in terms of positioning and things like that, but they make up for it in terms of energy, in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of recovering from their own mistakes and things like that, and just that willingness to put their body on the line. That's where they make up for it. So
Agreed.
Maybe that's something we could look at from now to the end of the season. I think Rodon has potential, but he just needs a consistent run.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's move into the midfield. Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. We gave him an E. An A- for Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Look, you got to say he's been the midfield general this year. He's been a brilliant signing from us from Southampton. The only reason it's not an A or an A+ is that I think that performances did drop for a little while in the last month. So I think that's why he's been marked down a little bit. But it's not all his own fault. I think it's just because he's been overplayed, really. Yeah,
I think for the majority of the season, he's been remarkably consistent. I think he had some really, really strong performances. Early on the season, he was definitely like the best defensive midfielder in the league, and he was playing out of his skin. I don't think he's quite continued those levels throughout the season, and I still think he's remained fairly consistent up until I think recently, like performances against Man City and against West Ham,
Arsenal.
and Arsenal as well. He wasn't very good, so that kind of marks him down a bit. But I still think by and large, it's been a very, very positive season. He's been exactly that midfield bite that we needed in the centre, and I think he's been very, very positive. But hopefully, he gets back to those levels that he was hitting early this season, where his passing was on point and he was really energetic and winning loads and loads of tackles and stuff. And I think against Villa, it was a bit back to his best. So hopefully, he's a step in the right direction there.
Let's move on to Moussa Sissoko. We gave him a D-. I mean, Moussa Sissoko, he's just not the same player he was in the last couple of years. His physicality levels are going down. His application's going down. He was never one for quality on the ball anyway. So when he loses that kind of grit and bite about him, then he pretty much loses everything he's got. So I think that Sissoko, look, it hasn't been a complete disaster. But when his performance levels and his kind of desire levels on the pitch drop, then that's going to happen, isn't it?
I don't know if there's been a change in him or not, because earlier in the season, when he was playing with Hojbjerg next to each other and we were getting loads of wins, and he was really reliable and he was playing a really good role for the team.
Yeah.
But something has switched ever since January time. And for some reason, every time he's called upon, he's been a liability. He's been his another one. His performances are completely nosedived, and he was part of that team. With that shocking performance in the second leg against Zagreb, and I thought you saw that third goal. He completely lets Orsic just run rings around him and doesn't put a tackle in against Villa. That clip doing the rounds on social media of him just putting a lazy leg forward and not giving his all for the team. I think
you've seen clips like that so many times this season, and it's so uncharacteristic from Sissoko, from what we've known from him in the last couple of years.
There's something, I don't know what has happened with him, but something's happened, and he's fallen out of favour with Mourinho, and rightly so, because I think his performances have been really, really poor, and he doesn't give what he used to give to the team. And I don't know whether he's not motivated or given up or what, but something's happened, and it's not good enough anymore from Sissoko from what we're seeing. And yeah, he gets points because at her first half of the season, I thought he was pretty solid, but second half of the season, he's been pretty horrendous, I think. Yeah,
and he's probably one that we're going to look to move on in the summer as well.
So.
Tanguy Ndombele, we gave him an A-. I think that he's had a really, really good season, and when you compare it to last season, it's absolutely night and day. This guy has got to grips with the Premier League now. You got to give him credit for his revival. You got to give Jose credit for his revival as well. The way he stamps his imprint on games, the things that he can do with the football is just insane. There was that skill against Aston Villa where he took it past 3 or 4 men. I mean, his skill set on the ball is just second to none. His kind of the way he can break the lines and find those slot those through balls through, absolutely brilliant. But I would say that in some games he does go missing sometimes.
Yeah, especially against bigger teams. Unfortunately, that's what's happened. When we've had games against West Ham and against Arsenal. Unfortunately, he was anonymous in both those games, and that's what he's got to work on, having big influences in games where it's really important that he's physically on top of his game and he doesn't get overawed by the occasion. I think that's happened a couple of times, unfortunately, when he's playing that central midfield role. By and large, it's been an extremely positive season, though. I think he's found a new role now in that deep-lying playmaker role, which I think he's excelling at exceptionally well. I think he's fairly got a consistent role there. The only problem is sometimes he gets overrun in that middle, but I think he's learning, adjusting to that. I think he's definitely growing in influence, and physically I think he does put in the hard yards and he does defend well as attack well. So I think he really is becoming that real central midfield baller basically that we needed. That little bit of quality that he provides in central midfield.
I think that we all knew about his qualities on the ball. We all know the things he can produce with the football on the ball. But I think that what I've most impressed is what you just mentioned there, his defensive work to his game, because I think he's really added that this season, and I think he's excelling at it as well. I know there are times where he gets overrun, but the terms of how many duels he wins in the middle of the park and how many tackles he makes as well, something that we didn't know about him before he came to Spurs.
And also last time we did this 23rd of last time we did a report. We did it 23rd of January, where he had played 190 minutes the whole season, and now since January he's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 90-minute games. We'll see, that's only in the Premier League, and then you got to add in Everton and Brentford in the EFL Cup. So he definitely is improving that side of his game. It's definitely night and day from where he was physically, fitness-wise, from the beginning of the season. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him in a Spurs shirt, especially from now to the end of the season, where hopefully him and Lo Celso can link up.
Yeah. Last of the central midfielders, Harry Winks. We're giving him an F. Absolutely shocking season, in my opinion. Absolutely shocking attitude as well. When he came out and he was talking about how he needs to get back in the England squad. No, you don't need to get back in the England squad. You need to get back in the Tottenham squad first. You need to show your worth to Tottenham Hotspur, and then maybe England will start to pick you up again. But in my opinion, I think the majority of times he's come on the pitch has been a disaster class, and the only good performances he's put in is against lower league opposition in the Europa League and in the Cups this season.
Yeah, definitely of late. I think, to be honest, majority of the season in the Premier League hasn't been good enough. I backed him earlier in the season, but he hasn't shown enough for me since then to tell me that he wants to fight for his place and he has the right attitude to get back in the team. I think a few times he's played against Leeds and against he started against Palace recently in that, which were good wins for Spurs, but he was kind of just wasn't because of Winks we won. He just happened to be there, kind of thing. I felt obviously he gave one of the worst cameos I've ever seen of all time when he came on against Everton. That was one of the worst substitute cameos of all time, but no doubt about it, that was horrendous, and that didn't offer him a lot of goodwill. Obviously, it was part of the shambles of Zagreb when he played 70 minutes in a shambolic performance, and he was left out of the squad last game, which in a game where Mourinho was making a statement about who we really trust in this squad, and that said a lot by leaving Winks out. So that's where he is at this moment. He's not got his eyes focused on the right things. He's too focused on getting into the Euro to think of himself and being selfish rather than trying to get back in the team and earn his place. So unfortunately, that's where he's at the moment. He doesn't deserve to be part of the first team at the moment.
And another one who, in my opinion, we should look to move on in the summer. Now let's move on to the attacking players. Erik Lamela, gave him a B, and I think it's been a really good performance when we can get him on the pitch. Erik Lamela this season, he's had his injury problems as always, but I think when he's been on the pitch, I think he's actually stepped it up a level in terms of what he's providing to the team, because we all know what he provides in terms of energy, in terms of giving his all for the shirt and the badge, which we can't say for all of them in our squad at the moment. He's always given that. That's something of a baseline for Erik Lamela, but I feel like he's kind of stepped it up a notch in quality this season with his ball rolls, has taken it to a new level. The way he dribbles with the ball, I think he's taken that to a new level. So I think I've been really happy with Erik Lamela this season, but it's just those injury problems that's the real concern.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's played a few games, but again, he rarely plays 90 minutes. He rarely plays from the start. Again, is another injury, another season that's been plagued a bit by injury, which is a running theme. Obviously, with Lamela, we all know about that. But recently, whenever he has been called upon, he has made an impact, and he has been good, and he's come on to actually try and make an impact on the team, and that's been the most positive thing. And I think he has. I think his dribbling ability, I don't know what he's been doing, but it's definitely been taken up a notch for sure. And that Rodon against Arsenal, one of the great North London derby goals, unbelievable.
One of the great Premier League goals.
Really is. Was an unbelievable strike from Erik Lamela.
One of the great goals in world football.
It really was. It was a special strike. Unfortunately, he did get sent off later in the game.
And unfortunately, we lost the game as well.
And we lost. But I think he has really come on in terms of making an impact. So I don't think I can begrudge him too much when he has been on the pitch, but it's all about him getting him on the pitch, which has been the problem. Exactly.
Lucas Moura, we're giving him a B+. Similar to Erik Lamela in terms of he always shows his fight for the team, always playing for the badge, always gives his all on that football pitch. You would say first half of the season, all that are still applied, but he wasn't adding that much quality at the end of all his kind of mazy runs and what have you. But now, second half of the season, especially in the last couple of months, he's been one of our best players in the squad. He's added real quality to the pitch, scoring goals, getting assists, just working so tirelessly hard for the team. And like I said, last month, he's been probably our best player.
Yeah, recently he really has come into his own. It really was up until February time, early February. He wasn't having a good season at all, I would say. Early in the season, he really couldn't get in the team at all. Even though he works tirelessly, he was just anonymous in a lot of games, and he wasn't really getting involved at all in the attacking play. And it was really frustrating. It was actually really frustrating for us to see, and it was coming to the point where you're thinking, okay, maybe it was best we just let go of Lucas at this point, because I'm not sure if he's up to it. But ever since February, that game against West Brom, he's come into a new lease of life. He's played that
fighting, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's played that new central role. He's pretty much started every single game since then, and he's been definitely our best player in this little run that we've had. We've won 4 of the last 5 games. He's been our best player for sure in our attempts to get back in the top 4. So you got to say, I'm pretty happy with where Lucas is heading at the moment. Hopefully he can continue this form, and he can be a key asset to us, because we know with his dribbling ability, he's hard to stop, and he's hard for other teams to handle at times. So really good stuff from Lucas of late, but overall still needs to do it over a longer period.
Which moves us on to Gareth Bale. We're giving him a C+. 10 goals this season, so you got to commend him for that. He hasn't played a lot of football. 5 Premier League goals, and I think that when everyone saw him putting those 2 goals against Burnley and against Crystal Palace, everyone was like, oh, come on, Gareth Bale's back now, including us. We all said that, but it just hasn't worked out that way. He put in a really bad performance against Arsenal, and he hasn't seen many minutes since then. And that's kind of on top of the first half of the season where we could barely get him on the pitch. So in terms of Gareth Bale, it was very nostalgic seeing him score all those goals for Tottenham this season. But I just can't see us taking up that second option next season.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's only appeared in, I think, 12 Premier League games so far out of 29. So
how many starts is that?
Yes, and it's only 6 starts, so it's just not enough for what we're paying for him and what and what we required when he first came to kind of fire us to a trophy. It hasn't really happened like that. I think when he has got on the pitch, when he has got the opportunity to show what he's about, I think he has done a fairly decent job most of the time. Obviously, the game against Arsenal was really, really poor. That was a big disappointment. Didn't even get on the pitch against Aston Villa at all. So despite the recent good run of form, it seems to be out of favour again, which is a big shame. And now new quotes from him coming out today. Yeah, so he's saying his plan is to go back to Madrid. That looks like that's going to happen now at the end of the season. Obviously, if he does start every game from now to the end of the season and kills it, then obviously there's still a chance. But I can't see that at the moment. And with the amount we're paying for him a week, that money could be used better elsewhere. I'm sure Levy thinks that. So, unfortunately, it's been nice having him back, and we'll hopefully he can have a good end to the season. You never know, if he scores like a winner in a cup final, it'll be remembered very, very fondly, this loan move. But at the moment, I think it's best that we end this at the end of the season and see what we can do elsewhere, which is a shame. But I think with Gareth Bale, I don't think he physically he still has quality, but up there with the best of the league in terms of quality. But in terms of intensity and in terms of physically providing what we really need,
if we want to persist with this pressing game, he's not the guy.
He's not the guy unless we build the team around him, and I can't see us doing that. So. I don't think unless, obviously he's a great squad option, but I don't think it's worth it for the money we're paying him just to be a squad option. So unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen for him.
Steven Bergwijn, we're giving him a D-. I mean, not one goal in any competition all season, which is pretty much a disgrace. I think that when he has been in the side, he kind of adds positively to the side in terms of our pressing game and defending from the front and that compromise for the team that Jose Mourinho talks about. But ultimately, for a winger, not to get a goal and not even that many assists is not good enough.
Yeah, I think he should be expecting a lot better from himself and a lot better from we expect a lot better from Steven Bergwijn, and unfortunately he just hasn't really done enough this season to nail down that winger spot that's definitely been open for him. I think he's had a lot of good performances. I think definitely worked hard for the team, and even going forward, I think there are a lot of games where he looks sharp and he looks creative and he's getting in the right positions, but it just hasn't come off for him. And I feel like the more times he's got in those positions and missed big chances, the lower his confidence is getting, and his confidence is completely rock bottom now. And he was played a lot during the season, But unfortunately, like his last start was when was his last start? Was against Chelsea back in the beginning of February. So it's been a while since he started a game. That's probably affected his confidence.
He was
as well.
Mourinho go-to guy at one stage on the wing.
I just think he needs a goal, and then you could see him. I reckon he could explode a bit because I think once he gets his confidence back, there's a real player there. I really think that. I think he has a lot of quality.
I agree.
But unfortunately, because he hasn't got that confidence at the moment, he's kind of not putting the performances of the required standard. And he had a decent first half of the season, but second half of the season, his performances have dropped off quite a bit. So unfortunately, that's the situation with Bergwijn.
All right, and now let's move on to Dele Alli. We're giving him an E-. I mean, the only reason we're not giving him an F is because that overhead kick goal, pretty much an absolutely stunning goal to put himself back into contention. But look, he just hasn't done enough when he's played. I mean, I know he hasn't played enough, and like maybe it's a bit like harsh on him to not play as much as he has, but when you're calling on someone with Dele Alli's qualities to make a stamp on the team, to get yourself back into contention, he just hasn't done that. And the majority of times he's played, he's looked lethargic, wasteful, and just not good enough. I mean, I can only think of 1 or 2 games where he's played well this season. Yeah,
he had like a decent performance against Fulham, I remember, when he started, but he's had other chances. I remember first leg against the 2 legs against Zagreb, he got taken off pretty early, and I felt like he just hasn't done it for me when he has played. And unfortunately, I think he's had chances from Jose. Maybe look, Jose has been particularly harsh with Dele. That's for sure. I think he's given more opportunities to other guys, whereas with Dele, it's kind of one mistake and you're out kind of thing. And I kind of sympathise with him there. But on the flip side, I feel like when he has been given opportunities, he hasn't taken them. And I don't know what the problem is with Dele at the moment, but it's been a while now since he had a real serious run of form where you thought like Dele's back. And I think it gets to a point where you can't keep blaming the manager. He has to take a lot of personal responsibility, and I think we're at that stage now. And we'll have to see what happens at the end of the season, because I can't see with Mourinho, if Mourinho stays, Dele staying.
And he gets marked down for that horrible moustache as well.
Definitely.
Let's move on to Giovani Lo Celso. We're giving him a D. Another one who's been blighted with injuries this season that we've hardly seen play that much. And when we have seen him, he's been very lacking in like match fitness as well. He scored that goal against Man City to seal off the win this season. But apart from that, he's hardly really played this season in terms of a full fitness Giovani Lo Celso.
Yeah, it's been a shame. I don't think he's been bad when he's played, but I think obviously when he's been injured for a while now, he got injured midway in December or late December, against Leicester, and he's only just come back now. So 3 months later, it's taken him to recover from this hamstring injury. So it's obviously going to take him a while to kind of get to full fitness. I thought earlier in the season when he was rotating with Ndombele, I thought he was putting in some pretty good displays. I remember at Anfield he played pretty well, got that assist for Sonny. I remember obviously he scored that winner against Man City, and he had some other good games. But unfortunately, it's a season for him that has been heavily blighted by injury, and that's a real frustration and a shame. Hopefully, he can have a good run from now to the end of the season, because I really feel like he's a player that Mourinho really trusts and really likes and is a big fan of, and I think he adds a lot to the team when he's on the pitch. I just hope that he doesn't keep playing him out wide, because I think he doesn't really suit that role for me. I've never really liked him on the right hand side, so I prefer him much more centrally, and hopefully he can do that. But we'll see how he goes from now to the end of the season. Now he's fit again.
But I think he's another one of those that always gives his all for the team, Giovani. So he's definitely one that we need to persist with, in my opinion. Now let's move on to the attackers. Heung-min Son, a stunning A+ for his stunning season. Best season in the Spurs shirt yet. The best version of Heung-min Son we're seeing, and half of the record-breaking partnership with him and Harry Kane, the most lethal partnership in Premier League history. Son has been full of assists, full of goals this season. The goals have dried up a bit of late, but the assists have still been racking up and coming in. So some people have said Heung-min Son has been off form, but I just don't buy that. I still think he's been providing very positively to the team. Gets a nice break now, not going to international break, and hopefully to see him fit and firing fresh back for the Newcastle game in a couple of weeks.
He's never gone more than 3 games without a goal and assist this season. I think he's been in sensational form, even of late, where his goals, as you say, have dried up. But he's still got 2 assists against Burnley. He's still got assists against Aston Villa. He's still very, very heavily involved in the goals being scored. So I still think he's having a fantastic season. I'm sure when he gets that rest that he needed after international break, when he comes back, he'll be fit and firing, and the goals will start flowing again. He's a big part of how we play, and I think this season he's been close to exceptional. It's goal scoring. I'm sure he's on 13 now. I think his best ever is 14 in a season, so I'm sure he's going to absolutely smash that. And he's got a lot of assists as well. He's got 9 assists in the league. And overall, he's got 18 goals and 16 assists, so I think he's had a pretty sensational season, and I think he couldn't have done much better, to be honest.
True. Harry Kane as well. We're giving him an A+. An absolute, to be honest, it should be A++++, because it's been an absolutely stellar season from the main man, Harry Kane. I think it's been, like I said for Heung-min, this is the best version of Harry Kane we're seeing. He's completely blown up. The assists, 13 assists this season in the league, 17 goals, which is level with Mo Salah right at the top of the Premier League scoring charts. He's been our best midfielder, best attacker, best defender, best everything this season. I mean, the complete levels Harry Kane is showing this season is elite levels. Elite levels.
Yeah, absolute elite levels. One of the best players in Europe this season. Havertz a very good shout for me to be Player of the Year. I think whenever he's been on the pitch, whether he's scoring or not, he always makes an impact, always does a really good role for the team. And I think he's been absolutely sensational in nearly every game he's played. So, fantastic season for Harry Kane. Such a shame that this season I think that a lot of the team have let him down, because if any of the team were anywhere near his level, would be vying for the title. So, I think he's been let down a bit by a lot of the playing squad. But he hasn't let his own standards drop. In fact, he's risen them. So. 27 goals and 16 assists in all competitions. That's just a joke.
Monstrous.
Just ridiculous. So what a player, what a season. And I think he couldn't have done much better again as well.
Carlos Vinicius, the last of the playing staff, we're going to give him a B. I think he's pretty much done everything asked of him, to be honest. He's come in the Europa League, scored the goals in Harry Kane's absence, or even with Harry Kane as well. I think at one stage he was top goal scorer in the Europa League, I think, from the last round.
Second top goal scorer now.
So yeah, you got to commend him for that. He's come in the Premier League. 2 games he's only played in the Premier League, scored a goal. So I think he's been a bit harshly treated by Jose for not seeing as many minutes as he probably should have done. But the minutes he's shown, I think he's done the job asked of him, to be honest.
Yeah, Premier League he's been kind of found wanting in terms of minutes, but in the obviously in the Europa League, I thought he's done his job. Whenever he's played, he's scored. He's got a very good goal scoring record in the Europa League, and you can't really ask for too much more than that. When it was pretty much his task was, whenever Kane's not playing in the Europa, when you come in the Europa League, you just bang in the goals and get us through the group stage in the early rounds, and he did that. So can't complain at all. Got that hat-trick against Marine in the early rounds of the FA Cup as well, which is also part of his job. And you got to say whenever he's been called upon, he's scored. However, when there has been games where he has shown a severe lack of quality on the ball, and that's probably where Mourinho has been hasn't trusted him fully in maybe games of more importance, or mostly, especially Premier League games. He definitely hasn't trusted him, and I can understand that. But on the flip side, sometimes you just need more game time to get in your rhythm and get used to it. And I think maybe he could have benefited from a bit more game time in the Premier League, but I can't really argue too much about what Vinicius has done, because I think he's done his job, and I think we will be seeing him a lot more now to the end of the season.
And last but not least, let's go to the manager, Jose Mourinho. We're giving him a C-. Look, you can't get away from the kind of, we've been in crisis, we've been on top of the league. I mean, it's been such an up and down season, but not through Spurs. It's for everyone. I just think like the kind of this season, it's just been a bit crazy for everyone. So you can't knock him down too much. We've had our injury problems as well this season. Going out the Europa League at that stage to that opposition is nothing short of a disgrace, especially in the manner that we did it. I think that what he's had to deal with in terms of how many games we've played as well, and kind of mixing and managing the squad, I think he's done a good job at that. Our Premier League levels, I think, has been left a bit wanting this season, especially since we went top of the league. That run we went on was absolutely disgraceful. I think 3 wins in like 13 or 14 games, I think it was. And there was one period as well, like 5 losses in 6 games or something like that. So I think that has been nothing short of a disgrace, where he's got to take a long, hard look at the way he was managing at the time and the way he was kind of looking at the squad and invigorating the squad. But on the flip side, we're in a cup final. We're 3 points outside the top 4. So we can still have the best kind of season we've ever had under Enoch this season. So you got to say, Jose, there has been some down marks, but I think all in all, he's doing an all right job.
Yeah, jury's still out. I think obviously if we depends how we finish the season from now to the end of the season. He's got an opportunity now to really push for top 4. Seeing as we're out of Europe, he's got 1 game a week to focus on, and he can really just use the players that he fully trusts in the squad to get the results that we need. And I can understand before, when we're in multiple competitions, he can't just use a core set of players. He needs to use the whole squad because every player can't play every game. And I think he was managing the squad pretty well beginning of the season, and we were going great guns. But in December time, it did start going wrong for him. He was making bad decisions, I felt, tactically, and I think the personnel, some of the personnel anyway, especially some of the ones who weren't being picked, started to cause a bit of a rift in the squad, and that's what it's culminated to in that horrible night in Zagreb, where we got one of the most embarrassing nights in Tottenham's recent history. You have to say that, so he has to take a lot of responsibility for that. But I don't think he's the biggest problem at the moment. I still think he's got a good football brain, and I still think he's nowhere near as finished as people think he is. And we're in a cup final. We're still 3 points off top 4, so I think we still, as you said, we still have a very good season. But the jury's still out, and I think if you said at the beginning of the season this is the position we're going to be in with 11 games, with 9 games to go, I don't think we would have taken it. But still, we can still have a good season. So let's just hope that we can have a strong end to the year, and maybe we can sit at the end of the season saying he's done a good job. But unfortunately, right now, you can't really say he's done a fantastic job.
You got to put him down for his over-reliance on players like Eric Dier, because week in, week out, they were getting starts after starts after starts and letting us down time and time again. And it only took for a certain point for him to get to take him out of the team. And as well, players like Joe Rodon, players like Dele Alli, players like just Joe Rodon and Dele Alli, which I think that deserved a few more minutes than they've got this season. I know Dele Alli hasn't really pulled up trees when he has played, but we all know that Dele has qualities, so I think that maybe he had been a bit harshly treated. And then also players like Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, who's been so vital to the team. I feel like players like him have been overplayed and overworked, and that has seen a dip in form from them.
Yep. They've been overplayed because you can't trust the other players. So that's the reality of the situation, and we have to understand that. And I think a lot of his problems are out of his control. Just like he said in his interview, some of the problems I can't coach. It's not about coaching; it's about dealing it with the club and stuff like that. And I think that he was alluding to these players being selfish, and a lot of them thinking of themselves and not thinking of the team, and that's what he's alluding to. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with him with our performances. He's got to get his team motivated to play in the game, and if he doesn't, he takes ultimate responsibility for that, unfortunately. So I think at the moment, he's you can't say he's performed as well as we would hoped, but we could be sitting here at the end of the season with a top 4 finish and a Carling Cup. So if that happens, you got to say he's done a very good job. So the jury's still out, but yeah, that's why we're giving him a C- for the time being.
All right, so there you have it. That is our end of term report. Check back at the end of the season where we'll be giving you the end of season report. But that is our end of term report. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with our ratings. If not, let me know your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.